getting into sales 101. When you look at that, there's a baseline there of what you've got. You either got it or you don't. You hear that term a lot in sales.
So the number one thing for me in terms of base level, are you curious? Are you genuinely curious?
Yep.
And do you genuinely want to help people solve their problems?
Yep.
If you check those two boxes, doesn't matter what your background is, you're probably going to start well in sales. And I've got comments on all the other parts, but I'll flip it over to Enrique for that.
Welcome. We're here for another episode of Launchcast. My name is Robbie Butchart. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer and one of the partners here at Launchcode. We are excited. It's another growth episode today. We've got a series, apparently, so I'm pretty excited about that. This is the second one of that. We've got a couple fine gentlemen here with me today. We're excited. It's going to be a little bit different than the last one. We're going to be talking a little bit more on the strategy side from a growth perspective professionally, and who better to have somebody that lives and breathes it. We've got Hamish Knox here with us, and we've got Enrique.
That's right.
I'm going to let you pronounce your own last name.
Enrique Turcios.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Iglesias. Okay.
Not yet. If I could sing, he'd be out of a job.
A couple of gentlemen that, if you don't know Hamish, he's been a pillar in the Calgary ecosystem for a number of years. Yeah. Running Sandler, have your own podcast. I'm assuming books, autograph sessions.
All that stuff.
Coming in the near future. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm coin operated.
Oh, good. I love it. And then Enrique, you obviously took his one of the Sandler Hamish courses.
Yeah.
And you're running the show over at Sur-Flo.
That's right.
I'm excited.
It's been a very colorful path.
Yeah. So why don't I'm going to go with, I'm going to give myself a B+ first day back from vacation on the introductions. I'll let you guys, maybe Hamish, start with you, a little introduction yourself and what you bring to this conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hamish Knox, I run the Sandler office for Calgary, Sandler, largest leadership and sales development company in the world. And I've written a couple of books. First one on accountability, second one was on change. So I write books on topics no one likes to talk about, but are very important. Yeah. And my podcast is Full Funnel Freedom. You were a guest back in January of 2023, which is an amazing episode. We are focused on creating consistently repeatable, sustainably scalable revenue engines for our clients across all different industries. And Enrique's been a core client of ours, started in our sales group, and he's now in our sales leadership group. And I'm delighted to share this with both of you today.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a good intro.
Yeah.
How you followed up there, Iglesias?
You know what? I'm surrounded by a great group of people, so I think I'm going to do just fine.
I love it.
You know what? Lifelong salesperson here. Been working with Hamish for a little over 6 years. You know, my career started in sales about 15 years ago, based out of Red Deer, humble beginnings, as a technical sales rep there, and moved into an account management role. And from there, that's when Hamish and I started working together and moved from account management more into a business development role, from there to senior business development, to then management, to now a director of sales. So super appreciative of everything I've gotten to learn along the way, and love what I do, and I love the people that I get to do it with.
I love it. That's a great intro. And this is going to be a fun conversation because we've got somebody who lives and breathes the sales training strategy side of it from that, almost academic side. We've got somebody who's lived it and grown in a certain way. And I've never had any sort of formal training. Just kind of lived it and figured it out and felt it through the way.
You're doing great, Robbie.
Well, thanks, man. That wasn't the point of the statement. The point of the statement was the perspectives that will come into this conversation, but I'm going to take the compliment anyways.
Yeah.
I love it. So let's talk about that a little bit. We're going to have some different types of viewers into this one. And in the last growth podcast that we did with Chris and Curtis, we talked a little bit about what it takes to kind of get to that point of growth, and we had very senior guys, another CRO, executive vice president of sales, and owner of Powerline. So two different perspectives there, but this is very different. We have people that it's like how the how behind you see where people get, and you see the strategy around some of the conversations, but how do they get there? And so maybe I'm going to start this actually with you, Enrique. I flipped it in my mind. I'm going to start with Hamish. No, starting with you. Why did you go to Sandler? And let's maybe take it back from Sandler to why did you seek out training from a professional perspective in the sales enablement kind of stratosphere?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, Robbie, and something that hits very close to home. You're very welcome, Robbie.
That's good. It's good.
I was given an opportunity to get better at sales. The behaviors that I had were good, but they weren't the behaviors that are going to get me to where I wanted to be, which is more of a senior role. And be better at what I do.
Yep.
I was used to doing a lot of behaviors that is about working harder, not smarter. And I found when I started working with Hamish, I was able to kind of hone my skills, sharpen my tools so that I'm working smarter, not harder.
Okay.
From a behavioral aspect to techniques to even the right attitude. I mean, sales is such a psychological game that if you're not right between the ears, it's going to show in your role.
Yeah.
And I find coaching is such a great place where you can practice.
Yeah.
And it's safe. You get to test the formula in the lab as opposed to going live and then all of a sudden, shoot, I'm practicing in front of a client.
Yep.
And that's just not the right place to be.
Yep.
And, coaching sessions are, it's safe. You're surrounded by a community of people, a group of people that are like-minded, looking to make, from good people, better people. And that support is invaluable.
I love it.
Yeah.
Can you add to that, Hamish?
I'd be happy to. So, yeah, you said the how-tos, Robbie, and that's really like Sandler's the how-tos, right? There's lots of great what's out there, right? You can fill in colored sheets, you can find a strategy, whatever, and it's really. I've been in sales since I was 19, and there were no how-tos. We had this wonderful strategy, whereas to Enrique's point, how do you go out and actually have real human-to-human conversations where you're not going up, showing up, throwing up, doing the typical salesperson dance, and then having to cut your price to win the business? Yeah. So that's really where I got attracted to the idea of being part of the Sandler Network was, this is about having more effective human-to-human interactions professionally and personally. Yeah. And that's what I really like supporting my clients on is whole human beings. So Enrique wasn't just a salesperson when he came to work with us. He was Enrique. He was a wonderful human being, had all this amazing experience that added richness to our room. And also he was humble enough to say, I'm pretty awesome. I bet I could be more awesome if I had someone giving me some tips and guidance. Yeah. And so, so when I hear from both of you guys, when we listen to those statements is there has to be a basis to this though. Right? So let's take it one step further back, like getting into sales, because we're going to have people that are watching this, and it's how do we serve those that are listening and or watching. And when we think about that, is there's going to be people that are just getting into it, and then there's people that are going to be into it and looking at expanding. To your point, and then there's going to be the next level where you have people that have expanded. And how do you learn after that? And so kind of this never-ending desire to constantly want to learn and grow. And that concept, I think, will serve a multitude of people there. So let's start at the basics. Getting into sales 101, right? And maybe I'll start this with you this time, Hamish. How do you know if you're cut out for that? Because what I heard you say is that and I think you said 19 you started? I started sales at 19.
Yeah, so I was the same. I was 19 as well. And so when you look at that, there's a baseline there of what you've got. You either got it or you don't. You hear that term a lot in sales. Okay? Start with you, off of that concept.
Well, we work with a lot of nerds, right? We work with Calgary's an engineering heavy city, right? So we work with a lot of nerds. We work with a lot of people who used to get paid for what they came up with and then put it on a piece of paper, put it in a PowerPoint deck. Right. And now all of a sudden they're being told that you actually get paid on the information you gather from your buyers, not the information that you give. And that's a big mindset shift. So the number one thing for me in terms of base level, are you curious? Are you genuinely curious? Yep. And do you genuinely want to help people solve their problems? Yep. If you check those two boxes, doesn't matter what your background is, you're probably going to start well in sales. And I've got comments on all the other parts, but I'll flip it over to Enrique for that.
But that's so simple. Yeah. And like sales is one of the things that's not taught in any sort of academia, right? Academia. Either one. I'm going to stick with both. One. Yeah. Either one works.
Either one works.
Good. Making things up.
Basis,
good.
Rob.
It's a gooder word. When you think about it, though, it's not taught. So, and the one thing that every organization, I don't care what the industry is, has in common is they require sales enablement. They require a sales team to grow, amongst other things. But that's a baseline. So it's fascinating to me that you still don't see it formally taught anywhere. Yeah. But to those thinking of getting into it, it's that simple. Are you curious and do you have a genuine desire to help? That's a super. That to me. It's good. Well done. I'll let you expand because I know you had thoughts already.
Yeah, I do have a few thoughts. I think Hamish hit the nail on the head there. I think curiosity is massively important, especially in sales, because we're having conversations with people. And it's a very much psychological game, like I said, because it's not a career that you're going to do to get your emotional needs met. You're going to encounter a lot more no's than you are going to have a yes. So that curiosity is key because you're genuinely wanting to add value and support your clients. But I think another very important part of that formula is having the discipline. The discipline to do the behaviors day in and day out, because it's going to get tough out there. You get a ton of guys coming into sales thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. Have that ego, that new salesperson piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, that's great. That's going to get you through the doors, but it's not going to get you across the finish line.
Right.
It's a good place to start. But when working with other professionals that want to support, maybe perhaps a younger salesperson coming up, discipline plays a massive role in that, because it's about the consistency of your behaviors.
Yeah.
That way you're not burning a ton of mental calories, a ton of energy, and to chase a squirrel.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's just not sustainable. So what we want to do is just have that longevity, which comes through coaching programs, gives you that confidence.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you start your role, your behaviors, you realize, dang, I'm already winning.
Yeah.
And those wins are going to create some confidence in a guy, and creates that momentum to, man, keep reaching new heights.
Yeah.
But curiosity, discipline, and truly caring about your clients and adding value is massively important.
Yeah, I love it. Those are great perspectives. How have you guys both seen the evolution to the engagements over the last, call it 10, 15, almost at 20 years now for us, right? When you look at the way that, and I'm going to transition this into how does an organization like Sandler help support that? And you so all about staying relevant, right? You look at the evolution, phone calls and yellow pages, right? Back in the day, showing up. Maybe we're a little too young for that. I don't know. You might have been there. But when you look at that evolution over the years. How is that training, that perpetual cycle of that self-improvement when it comes to the professional side? How are you guys keeping up with that? And then how are you seeing that from what you're seeing in the actual courses that you're taking or the coaching that you get? Maybe expand on that a little bit from the actual, impact that's there.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, let's start with that.
So the key thing is, for me, all the other training I've ever done, because I did all the other training, right? And it was all an event. It was like, hey, you're coming into a room for a day or a week or a weekend, or we're going to send you to Vegas or whatever, and you're fixed. Yeah. It's like, well, human beings don't work that way, right? We're not light switches where it's or we don't have the matrix where we can plug it in the back of your head and magically you're a better seller or a better leader.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. It's coming. And so it's that idea of thin slicing, right? Of baby steps of okay, we're going to break down. We'll just pick closing because it's something that a lot of sellers like to get better at, right? We're going to take closing and let's micro that down into baby steps. And so you can be successful by design instead of by default. Most people are successful by default because they just go out and they fail their way forward.
Right.
And we've had a couple of clients, usually they got a lot of technical experience, and they go, hey, I do this stuff naturally. And I say, man, that's great. I wish you would do it intentionally.
Yeah.
Because when you do it naturally, you're doing it because you're comfortable, right? Oh, I've known Enrique for years. I can say this to him. Or you go, oh shit, I need a move because I'm losing this. Yeah. And if I don't have a move, and now it looks like you went to a sales training class, you got a shiny new toy to try out. Right. And that doesn't work.
Right. So expand on that. So you're cutting into slices, you say, so that it's the micro. You're looking at it at very micro steps. So walk me through that. Is that you're engaged in 12, 18, 24, 48, 60? What does that engagement look like, and how does that help support as you move forward and build upon each other? I'll stick with you on that.
Appreciate you asking, Robbie. So really key thing is understanding where our clients are first. Right, so a lot of context for coaches and consultants is they come in and they essentially say you're broken. Now they may not literally say you're broken, but they're implying it. Right, I'm here because you're broken and I'm going to save you.
Right.
I'm not interested in saving. I'm interested in supporting our clients get from where they are to where they want to be. And so understanding where they're at and then saying, okay, you want to go from here to here. You want to increase your closing rate. You want to put more qualified leads in the funnel, whatever that might be. Great. We've got a series to introduce you to that, and then we're going to layer on and expand. Like Enrique shared, he's been working with us for 6 years, and most of that was in our sales development program. So there's no way for us to be able to keep a high-performing individual like Enrique engaged unless we're continually meeting our clients where they're at, understanding what their issues are, and bringing them content that to support them. Like globally, our average client in Sandler stays with us for 9 years.
Yeah, that's huge.
And there's a company out of Cleveland, works with a colleague of mine, 38 years.
Wow. That's unbelievable. 38 years.
I know. I've a little bit shorter than I've been alive.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking the same thing.
And so it started when son took over from dad, right? Dad founded the company, retired, son took over, and now we're supporting them in third generation, taking over successfully.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool, really powerful.
Yeah, that's huge. And so maybe I'll position it back to you from now. You're in a director of sales, Enrique.
Yeah, you bet.
And you think about supporting your team. You think about the growth requirements. You think of what Sandler and Hamish and similar type organizations out there offer to help support those people. How do you know when it's the right time to bring somebody like Hamish?
That's a really good question.
Thank
you. You're just full of these really good
I'm
questions.
just making them like, oh yeah, that's crazy.
Well, you're doing great, bro.
Thanks, man.
I think it plays a massive role. It really comes down to the individual, especially this growth path, because it's such a multifaceted. It's so dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on what the person wants to achieve, where what their goals are, for the next 6 months to a year.
Right.
But we don't really get to know that as a leader unless we're having these one-on-ones with our folks and saying, well, what is it that you want to achieve? Because let's face it, people will work a lot harder for their goals than ours.
Yep.
And if we're able to marry those goals from the individual performer to the organization so that both parties win, I mean, that's magic.
Yeah.
That's repeatable. Everybody wins and we're winning together.
Yeah.
And that's sustainable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So having those one-on-one conversations saying, you know what, shoot, I'll use a real life example. One of our account managers was a technical sales rep looking to move into a bigger role, wanting more responsibilities. It's like, great. Well, Enrique, how do I get there? Well, this is what the path looks like. These are the behaviors of what a good account manager does,
Right.
on a daily basis, weekly basis. And part of that is coaching because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And, having coaching in a world that's constantly changing and having a program that changes with the constantly changing world is effective.
Totally.
It's effective. I mean, look at what happened 3 years ago. COVID, everything shut down.
Yeah.
But you know what? We actually became stronger in those 3 years as a team and as a company because we stuck to the behaviors. That discipline of we know what we need to do as salespeople to not lose our momentum. Part of that is coaching. Part of that is Sandler's support here in Calgary. Others is the individual has to do their behaviors too. I mean, nobody can do the push-ups for me.
Yeah, totally.
So having that discipline, having that courage to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, so we've touched, and it's interesting. So we've touched on a few things. We've touched on curiosity. We've touched on the desire to help. And the one thing I think, you mentioned that your comment, I'm going to verbatim it, so I might butcher it a little bit, Enrique, but like the concept of you're not in sales to fill your emotional needs.
That's right. Yeah.
That's pretty hilarious and absolutely true. So you think about what that comes down to, though, is resiliency and perseverance, right? So you look at some of the characteristics required for somebody to be successful that's in that sales environment. And now let's push that forward. So you realize you've got this, right? You've got what it takes. Let's use that term. And there's multitudes of others I think we could all bring in, but the core four, we'll call them. Out of that, moving into now, let's talk about your account manager's example. I'm built for more. I can handle more. I want to do more. So here's your foundational requirements to get to that point. Outside of behaviors, let's talk about that a little bit more. What do you guys see from that evolution? You are that, to a degree. You are that as well. I've been there. What does that requirement look like to move from, okay, I feel like I'm meant for more. What do I need to do to get to that next level, into that managerial space, we'll call it, or director level or whatever? And maybe I'll start with you, Enrique.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's an evolution of behaviors that, as a company and since we do work quite closely with Sandler as a support group for sales, we're very much behavior based because we understand that if we're doing the right behaviors, the right amount of those behaviors in the right way, success will come naturally. Might not happen tomorrow, but it's around the corner. It's going to happen. I think as you develop in your role, there's different behaviors a guy can do, for example. Not to get into the super technical nitty gritty of it all, but we work with a ton of accounts, and we use a care model. From keep accounts, attain accounts, recapture accounts, and expand accounts. An account manager will typically, focus on recapture, expand, and keeps. If a guy really wants to achieve more, go up that ladder, reach new heights. For self-fulfillment, most importantly, then they're going to want to gather new business, which are the attain accounts. So those behaviors are going to change. They're going to change more towards stepping out of your comfort zone. You're going to be doing some tough stuff. And because everything we want is outside of our comfort zone. So we're going to increase the behaviors and target different accounts that, it's not something an account manager is typically used to doing, but it's more of business development role. And if a guy sticks to it, through discipline, passion, and self-awareness as well, success will come. So
love it. Yeah, that's great insight there. I think there you dropped a lot of really strong,
the knowledge bomb.
Yeah, there's a lot of strength there in some of the concepts you brought up, because when you think about the people that I go back to who's listening and watching, is I almost want you to slow down. Say that care thing one more time.
Care,
Yeah.
yeah.
What you breeze by that super quick. That's a big deal. When you're thinking about that. And there's people that might say, I already know that, but when you put structure around that, it allows you to build out strategy to it. So maybe
100%. I love that.
Let's double back on that a little bit.
Yeah, let's do that. And hey, I can't take all the credit for that. That came, those moments of brilliance are in conjunction with the Sandler team in Calgary. So, we're not alone in this.
You're executing it though.
That's right. And that's the magic formula, right? The execution piece.
Yeah.
But the care model, it's KARE. There's keep accounts, people who love us, attain accounts, people who don't do business with us, but they could be a really good fit, and we could support their needs.
Yep.
Ours are our recaptures, people that used to do business with us and now they no longer do.
Yep.
And we don't know why.
Yep.
And E's are our expands, people that buy 3 out of 10 product lines that could be buying 6.
Yep.
So we've taken that model, and that's how we categorize our account base,
awesome.
Our book of business. But we've taken it one step further because data is important. If what doesn't get captured, it doesn't get measured, and then it's just not executed on. It's lost.
Yep.
So we've actually inputted that into our CRM. So we're able to categorize all our accounts all in one neat little spot in a CRM. So our account managers, our business development folk know exactly where they need to look.
Love it.
There's nothing left. There's nothing ambiguous. We know exactly what we need to do day in, day out.
And then you're measuring, and your data and your decisions within the business are based off of that entry.
Bingo.
Or the entries, I should say.
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Right on. Awesome. Thank you for going a little deeper on that.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Happy to do so.
Yeah, I'm sure I can see you itching a little bit. I can see two things. I can see you itching, like there's some things you want to say, and then there's like moments of like a dad moment of pride there. Like I saw that. I looked over and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's like
Making
father
him
and son.
proud.
Yeah.
We had a client say in session once, we do lesson learning commitments at the end of every one of our sessions, executive sales leader and salespeople.
Okay.
And then we review them at the next session. Hey, you said you were going to do this. Are you going to do it? And what a very senior seller came in one time. He's like, yeah, it's like coming in. I don't want to disappoint Dad. I was like, can we not? Can we just not? Like, I love you, and I just don't. I don't want that pressure.
No,
don't want that pressure.
No, you got to own that. That's hilarious. That's what because you could see it. Like it was a beautiful moment. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyways, continue. I interrupted once again. Go ahead.
So I wanted to build on something Enrique said about data, and that's one of the core beliefs that we have is you can't coach without data.
Yeah.
Because if you're coaching without data, essentially it's like, Robbie, my tummy thinks that you're not doing very well, and now we're having a fight. As opposed to a way to actually grow and develop you in your role, and then me support you as the leader. So I wanted to highlight that. The other thing I was thinking of as you were talking about this is you're asking about how do you grow from seller to leader.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And there's a couple of things. Number one, and I don't even remember if I asked you this question when you were transitioning to the role, and I've had this conversation a few times. Is do you want to create success by yourself or success through others?
Yeah.
And it's a clear no or yes, and either one is okay. But you got to pick one.
I couldn't agree with you more. Some people are built for it, being like that individual contributor, and some people are built to lead those and help through.
Totally.
Doesn't always mean, and we hear this a lot, just because you're really good at closing or selling or being that individual contributor doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great leader. No. So you have to have that. So let's go a little deeper on that. I mean, yes, it's a personal thing, but do you see commonality in some of the skill sets, traits, characteristics of people that are really good at the through concept?
No. Actually,
really,
there's a book my friend Pete Oliver wrote called "Making the Climb," and it's literally about how you can go from super seller to super sales leader.
Yeah.
And he has this thing that he refers to as super rep. And I'm sure all of us have experienced this in our career where our manager comes with us.
Yep.
And at some point it's like, hold on, I got this. And then all of a sudden the client's like, well, then why am I dealing with this guy?
Yeah.
Because like if I just got to go talk to the boss, like why do I need to talk to him? And so we really want to avoid that. And really that part of that Enrique's talking about around the coaching. And you've mentioned that several times. And that's absolutely critical. There isn't really an analogous trait between super seller and super leader that ties into coaching. That yes, curiosity may be.
Yeah.
Really what it comes down to is genuinely wanting to support that individual as a whole human being. So they're not just a quota number. They're a human being with their own hopes and fears and dreams and worldview. And Enrique's heard this from a lot from me is our people work for us not because they love us or our business. It's because they believe working for us gets them their personal goals faster.
Yeah.
And if they ever leave and they're going to say more money, title, equity, whatever, it's code for I believe going and working across the street is going to get me to my personal goals faster.
Yep. Well said. I love it. Let's go back to data.
Sure. Yeah.
Because this is something you have some different camps around data. And we laugh because we know it's true. So there's so much data out there, right? You're entering into your CRM, Enrique, as you flip your notebook there. I love it.
Yeah. I'm a writer, Robbie.
I love it. It's good. But you think about it, there's so much data. From a sales perspective, we can get lost in the weeds sometimes.
Sure.
Around that, right? So
100%.
let's talk about what's too much data. Let's talk about what's not enough. Let's let's peel the onion back a little bit on this, because when I look at when we started this, there was no data. There was nothing. There was go out and have conversations, and let's get some wins, and that simple. Like, we simplify everything, right? But now when you're getting into scale and expansion, you need data to support that. So let's I'd love your guys' perspectives on what this looks like. And Hamish is laughing quicker than you, Enrique. So I'll start with you, Hamish. What are your thoughts, bud?
Sure. There's a lot of, you can get overwhelmed by data. And Sandler, we've got a few partners who are bringing some AI to the space, especially for sales leaders to be able to have more accuracy in forecasting. Which, Robbie, as a sales leader, right? If you say you're going to deliver a number to the board or to your investors, you damn well better deliver that number, or have a really good story as to why you missed it by just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. Overall, for me, my belief is it's your target, your key performance indicators, and then your day-to-day behaviors that Enrique's talked about, right?
Sure.
So ultimately tracking what are the proactive activities that get you to having conversations with key decision makers, having first appointments, things like that, and then ultimately rolling that up to, okay, how long does it take us from hi, nice to meet you, to looking forward to working with you? Because at every break in that sales process, those are coaching moments for us, where we can be measuring. I have unfortunately seen leaders who have giant spreadsheets, multiple lines long, multiple pages long, that eventually their salespeople just don't want to input data. And that's why we have to, when we're tracking it, we have to make it flow with our sellers. Because if it doesn't fit with our sellers' way of doing, we're going to end up chasing them, and it's all going to fall apart.
Amen.
Couldn't agree more. Well said. Anything to add?
I mean, I think as a leader, you have to facilitate the process.
Right.
We're there to make our people's lives easier, so that they're more effective, they're confident, and they get that momentum to get us to the next level. Because at the end of the day, as a leader, it's no longer about you. It's now about your people. So you need to make sure that you're giving them your best self, giving them the tools and the how to do it. That's going to make them successful. And I agree with Hamish 100%. I mean, too much data, that'll just create analysis paralysis. You're just going to be scared to do anything, because you know what? One theory is going to cancel out the other.
Totally.
And then what? It's like my missus says it the best way possible. It's like bowling. You put guardrails on so that the ball doesn't go down to the gutter, but somebody still has to frickin' bowl. Somebody still has to still throw that ball down.
True.
So that's execution. Awareness is great. Without execution, it's dead. So
from my perspective, it's simplification.
Amen to that.
Like, I'm not micro in a lot of this stuff. For me, it's it's revenue, to your point, top line. What's the quarter look like? You break that down into meetings. What's new, and what have you moved through? Like those two alone. If you have one meeting a week and you can get 2 or 3 opportunities out of that, you're a rock star. Good on you. Get at it. But if it takes somebody 10 to do the same thing, no problem. It's just what's new and what have you moved through. Like that simplicity is huge through it all, because it's great to know your average close cycle and your deal size and all. Sure, it's great. Quickest way to understanding what that revenue looks like. So no, I love it. That's okay, let's go in now. This wasn't in any conversations, and I had an idea.
Cool.
Let's talk about generative AI, chat GPTs, and everybody's talking about it. How are you guys seeing it into this ecosystem as a collective? There's a lot of stuff I'm imagining in the coaching space you can incorporate, but sales is so dynamic. There's not one magic bullet. There's not one way. It's ambiguous, right? We don't know what one conversation will hold compared to if we have the same one with somebody else. Totally different outcome. Right? 100%. So are you guys, first of all, I guess, seeing evolution into that space? If so, how, what, where, when, who? how much, all that fun stuff. Let's kind of dive into it a little bit. And I mean, from a coaching side, maybe I'll start with you on that, Hamish.
Sure.
What are you seeing there? Is it expanding and helping the operational side for you? And what are you seeing from the teams that you support in different industries? You have probably one of the most unique perspectives on this, given your clientele that you support. So maybe I'll start with you.
So it's really, AI can be very powerful as long as we still remember, at least for now, we're still selling to human beings.
Yep.
And the key thing, this ties into scripts, right? There's plenty of organizations out there like, I have a great script. It's like, well, that's great. I don't give my script to my buyer.
Yeah.
And in a previous company I worked for, they were very big on their scripts, loved their scripts.
Like,
and
stick to your script, just
like
read
stick,
this
like
word for word?
Right, and there was an inside sales rep who got trained, and the first day that they were allowed to be on the phones, they were overheard to say, good morning, name.
Oh, my God.
They didn't last. I'm just going to put that out there.
I think it was Name. Perhaps it was French.
It could have been, yeah. They forgot the inflection on it. That's exactly what happened. So for our clients, we tell them hit mountaintops, right? So with the AI, it's like, what are the mountaintops I'm trying to hit? So going in and asking an AI, what would be, what are the top 3 concerns of a VP of operations in the construction industry?
Right.
Well, they're this. Ring, hello, hey, is it Enrique? Yeah, it's Enrique. Enrique, I'm Hamish. I work for whatever. I typically work with VPs of construction who are worried about this, wondering how to do this more effectively, or tired of having this negative outcome. Any of those relevant to you, worth a conversation. So
hang on. I'm just going to pause right there. For those of you listening, rewind what Hamish just said. There's your script. That's simple.
Yeah.
Maybe just rattle that off the top of his head, right? So
it's improv, really. It's improv, right? So that's the key part, is use AI as a tool to accelerate all the stuff that as sellers they typically don't like to do, which is the prep. I know as a seller, I didn't like to do the prep.
Yeah.
I knew it was important, because if I just show up and be like, so Robbie, you exist. Can I sell you something? Like, no.
Yeah, not going to happen.
So that's where AI is really, really critical, is in the prep.
Okay.
We still have to remember we're interacting with human beings, at least for right now.
Hamish, that was a phenomenal answer. And I think that's where you're seeing a lot of this growth into generative AI, and I've got some thoughts around it myself. Couldn't agree more around the concept as a whole. Are you guys, Enrique, using any sort of ChatGPT style tool out there within the business? How is it affecting your side? Maybe expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, times are changing, and I think that's a tool to make lives easier, and that's what we all want, right? Simplify the process, make lives easier. But I think what Hamish said is truly important. The principles of the sales process from a human to human perspective, that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
People
Nor will it ever.
No, 100. At least not for now. Right?
Fingers crossed.
It's,
anyways,
it's one of those things. I love buying stuff, but I hate being sold stuff. And a lot of people will agree with that. I'm not really waiting for someone to knock on my door and say, "Hey, Enrique, do I have a deal for you?" Those days are long gone. That doesn't happen anymore.
That's how I start most of our phone calls.
And so that human to human interaction is still super needed. I mean, there's still issues to be solved. There's still lives to be made easier, and that's done through a human to human conversation. I mean, let's not even go that far. In the middle of winter, we had that cold snap. Our furnace broke at home, and don't get me wrong, I'm pretty much all looks, not very handy with my hands. So
I
went down.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, you know what? And I'll be transparency, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So went down to the furnace, had a look, had no idea what I was looking at. YouTubed it. Great, you see,
cool.
Internet of Things. It pointed me in the right direction, but I got to a point where I had no idea what to do next.
Right.
And what did I do? I called some pals that are in the industry, and they're like, Enrique, don't panic. Just do these 3 things, and if it doesn't work, then call somebody to go to your house. I mean, it's -40 out. My lady's cold. The puppy's cold.
Yeah.
You can only imagine.
Yes.
So
sense of urgency.
That's exactly it. So YouTube got me this far. The conversation with my pals who knows exactly what to do, another human, got me to where I wanted to be, which was a warm home. So there's a place for where internet adds value, makes things easier.
Yeah.
But to get us to the finish line, we still need some human to human interaction.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we come in as salespeople.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only thing I would add to what both of you said is that really at the end of the day, nothing is going to replace that human to human element to what you just said. But the ones that are going to succeed are going to be the ones that utilize the tools in front of them to better themselves and have a more strategic, more impactful, more relevant, more personalized conversation. And that's kind of where I'm seeing a lot of that that opportunity with the generative AIs and the ChatGPT style tools is it allows you to be quicker, better, faster. I think it's a Kanye song, but like when you look at it, that's really the evolution is what we're seeing there. It's not replacing; it'll never will. I truly believe that. I don't think in our time, anyways, it's not going to be. That human element will always be. So how do you utilize what's out there to stand above the rest and succeed at the end of the day, right? So
that's exactly it.
we're seeing it from a more of a marketing perspective, content perspective, like those types of things. You're seeing the outreaches in some of the content, like emails and stuff like that. You're seeing that sort of stuff, but it's not always right, and that's the other problem is that it's pulling data that's a little bit older than what's current today. So it's that trust but verify concept.
Yeah, totally,
right?
100%.
So no, it's interesting. I appreciate you guys letting me kind of dive into that because it's a conversation that comes up with so many different folks.
Well, it also comes up because we're all lazy, right? Like we all,
Yeah.
like our brain wants to burn as few calories as possible, and it can seem real easy. Like we want the magic pill, we want the injection that's going to give us the beach body or whatever, or fill our funnel or whatever it might be.
Right.
And it ultimately comes down to your point, Robbie, of authenticity.
Yeah.
And if we're just going copy, paste, send, our buyers are smart people.
Yeah.
And they can figure out that you're just copy, paste, repeating.
Yeah.
And that's going to lower your credibility. So ultimately, if you do end up getting in touch with them, be like, hey, Enrique, it's Hamish calling. Oh, yeah, I know you.
Yeah. If you even answer.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right. And that's one thing, and maybe I'll spend a little bit of time here, is that when you talk about the content, the types of outreaches, we all, like LinkedIn is great. I think there's a lot of power there. There's a lot of opportunity there, but there's also a lot of garbage. And I think it's great because it can teach you what you don't want to be. And that feeling, right? When you look at sales, you look at the interaction, you look at the human to human element, it's all about how you make somebody feel. And so if I get an email from Hamish or Enrique, and it's a copy paste and it's we do this, you're probably interested. How do you know that I'm interested? And like there's zero effort there. So I'll maybe poke you guys a little bit on how are you seeing great impact from your BD stuff that you're working on, Enrique? Like what are you seeing? Is it super personalized emails? Is it phone calls? Like what are you seeing working today for some of those people that are listening from that might want some tips and strategies?
Yeah. I think it totally depends on what kind of clients you're looking to attract and where you might be, especially in a sales process.
Okay.
Do they know a little bit about you, but nobody's really reached out? Are they a complete stranger? I mean, who knows, right? But I find what is really impactful, especially right now, is that human-to-human aspect of we're not just people.
Right.
We're not just a company. We're human beings, with wants, needs, and desires and goals. And putting that kind of personalized foot forward, like on a platform on LinkedIn, and showing that we care about the communities that we operate in, causes that our clients might care about as well, humanizes us. So when you actually engage in a conversation, or most importantly, you run into them in a networking event or at a golf tournament, you know what? That conversation is, oh, shoot, I've seen your content, man.
Yeah.
Really good to meet you. It's great that you guys support X cause.
Yeah.
Now we're connecting on a human-to-human level, and we're going to be a lot more open to discussing what does it look like to work together? Who are our typical clients? What are the problems that we solve that they might be experiencing?
Yeah.
And it facilitates that process, because now I'm not selling you anything, Robbie.
Yeah.
I'm here saying, hey, you know what? You're a cool human. I'm a cool human. Let's chat. Let's see where our paths might cross.
Yeah.
How can we win together?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's massively important.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hamish, anything to add there?
So my colleague Nisha has taken some calls from our clients who are much more technical, right? They're project managers or whatever that might be, and they're like, well, I don't want to sell anybody. And she'll say, awesome, go have a purposeful conversation.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean by that? It's like, you're not trying to sell them anything. To Enrique's point, you're out to have a purposeful, intentional conversation to discover if maybe you're even a good fit.
Yeah.
Now, to back this up a little bit, there's some data out there that says most sales, net new, right? So if they're an existing client, this doesn't count. But if it's net new, the sale is closed between the 8th and the 12th touch.
I was just going to say that. The average time it takes is 8 to 12. So I love it. You're in my head. Get out of my head.
I'll try.
You're welcome.
Either one.
Yeah.
And what am I wearing? And so and so most sellers give up. Actually, 67% of sellers give up after touch 1. So
is that right?
So that's like you send, even if it's an inbound lead, right? So if you send an contact us form or info at and I hopefully I don't reply. If I don't, hopefully I just hit reply. I pick up the phone. Either way, oh, Robbie never called me back, or Robbie never responded to my email, moving on. No, that's just the beginning. As you said earlier, Robbie, there's no magic bullets. You're right. There's no magic bullets. Enrique, you talked about discipline and resiliency. And so, and actually, I think, what's the number? It's 89% of sellers give up after 3.
Is that right?
So almost 9 out of 10 sellers have stopped pursuit at least 5 touches before they're ever going to get a sale.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
That's a hugely impactful statement. Like that is absolutely astounding. Like, let that set in for a minute. Your team. So think of your team.
Yeah. No, that makes
I bet you that's a question.
Sense. That is a question, and you know what? Luckily, we have the behaviors to rely on that. We know.
Nice.
We don't. The person who holds the answers for us is our client.
Yeah.
They can't come out of our mouth.
Sure.
So we don't know this book is closed until our client tells us, hey, you know what? I don't really see us being a fit. But we don't know that unless we're asking these questions, having those reach outs. And it's totally okay. You have to give your clients an out and say, hey, you know what, Robbie, try to get a hold of you, looking to support you this way, like we do with a lot of folks in your area. Hey, if this doesn't make any sense for us to talk, on a business perspective, no sweat. You've made another friend regardless. We can chat whenever. And most of the time, 90% of the time, you'll see guys reply back, you know what, yeah, it's just not the right time right now. Why don't we reconnect in 6 months?
Yeah.
So that's okay too. You just move that into your funnel. It's not an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's just a conversation to be had in 6 months, but you're going to be having those conversations because that's not only calendarized.
Yeah.
It's on there.
Yeah.
But it's also part of your behaviors to hit that mountaintop.
Yeah. And that's all great comments. And one thing that came to me as you guys were both talking there is the concept around the personalization, and you touched on it a little bit. I think you both did, actually. And the idea around that, like, I have a rule. It's the 3-3-3 rule. Take 3 minutes of research on the person, on the role, and on the company. So at least when you're reaching out, and I have an example of this, I actually reached out to totally cold out contact, owner of a learning management software company, reached out to him. And my reach out, because I did a quick search on him, everything that he posted on his socials was about surfing. Behind a boat, like wake surfing.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
So I have a crazy story. I'm not going to get into it here, but I kind of teased that in my subject line was like, got a crazy story about wake surfing, and so it had nothing to do about business. And I reached out, and the email was, whatever. We'll call him Tom. Hey Tom, saw you're big into wake surfing. Have this, and this, but I touched on that personalization piece right away because it's different.
That's right.
Like, think of how many LinkedIn outreaches you get, and they talk about them right away.
Totally.
That's exactly it.
Right? Should be about the client first, right? Always client first, all day.
All day long.
So you take that. So he ended up replying in 3 minutes. It was crazy, right? So, but validated that really quickly, and then from there, we had a call. It was great. We talked a little bit about personal really quickly. We didn't talk about wake surfing, and at the end of the call, he's like, "Tell me the story."
Amazing.
Wow, like it had that much of an impact, So you talk about that personalization in your content, your outreaches. That's such a difference maker from what everybody else is doing, So just a little bit of addition there in terms of what.
There is a danger, or there is a warning I'd share to the audience.
Sure,
if I may,
please.
Because some of the audience is probably like, yeah, but I don't have a crazy story about wake surfing, or I don't know, I can't find this person online.
Great
and
point.
so human beings, we're all social creatures, right? And we love reference groups, right? So Robbie, you are a CRO, right? So you have a reference group, and Enrique, you ride motorcycles, right? So there's a reference group. And so the one danger that I've seen sellers do is they'll say, just like you, right? Robbie, we work with CROs just like you, and nobody is just like me, right? I'm a unique snowflake. So what we
So
can
many
say
comments,
is,
Hamish.
absolutely,
So many
Robbie,
comments.
absolutely, all getting edited out, is the fact we can say we work with motorcycle enthusiasts. We work with CROs at rapidly scaling companies, because then you have the ability to be like, oh, I'm that.
Right.
Yes, I'll have a conversation with you. So for the audience, if you have great stories, absolutely leverage them, like Robbie said. At the same time, if you don't, what's the reference group that you could go to? Because that's actually going to get you in a step ahead without, to your point also, Robbie, about burning a ton of time.
Yeah.
Going, oh, how can I make this personal?
Yeah.
Make it personal via the reference group.
Yeah, that's a great, that's a really, really intelligent piece of feedback, because I think that also speaks to your business acumen and how you're going to attain that conversation and what happens during it. That simple, small little tweak will make a massive feeling difference to your point of not being sold to.
That's exactly,
Yeah.
and I think to a certain extent, that also creates some trust that the client knows, holy smokes, I'm in good hands. I mean, this person knows exactly what they're talking about. Yes, I do see that. Oh, and they work with my competitor. Dang, I need to get in on that. Right? So to have that trust and rapport, in such a low trust environment when you're cold calling someone, that's a massive win.
Yeah, that's huge, guys. Is there anything, guys, that we didn't touch today that you wanted to touch on?
Okay.
Dang, something that I would have appreciated talking about, or I think would add a lot of value to our listeners.
Let's do it. Is it why Hamish thinks you're awesome?
We can all day long. You know what, Hamish, take the lead.
That'll be my I'll wrap that up. I'll wrap this up with that, Robbie.
I think is the execution part of it, the tactical side. Something that I think adds a lot of value to our sales teams is putting something all on paper. Something like a sales process, how many touch points based on the care model. It'll put everything in a language that everybody understands.
Okay, give an example. I love it. That's
let's talk about our account managers for now. We have a sales process directly tied to what their day should look like. Not a script, but boxes that need to be checked where you're having these conversations. And it tells you exactly what the next step should be, or what could be a potential next step. Is it close the file? Is it, yes, we're going to advance this to a more concrete conversation as far as what happens next, are all the people in the right room, things like that.
Right.
So to put it in a clear piece of paper, I find people find a lot of success real quick, which creates confidence and momentum.
Love that.
So
that's more like a playbook than a sales.
That is a playbook, 100%. We call it the sales playbook.
Okay.
And it's something that's documented, and it's a livable. It's a living document.
Yeah.
Because as the world changes, so do we. But at least we get to document the behaviors that bring us success, because then it's repeatable.
Love it.
And then everybody wins. So I think that's massively important when we're looking at that to grow.
So let's go. Fantastic, and I'm surprised we hopped over it. So thank you for bringing it in.
Thank you.
That idea around the process, is it around calls? Like, let's go deeper for people that maybe don't have their own playbook that they've built out. Is it calls that they have on there? Is it meeting cadences? Is it all of the above? Is it maybe go a little deeper?
Absolutely. So behaviors like prospecting, for example.
Okay.
An individual could prospect at networking events, or we might have conversations with the right people.
Yep.
It's great. We're not selling somebody, let's say, at a trade show.
Sure.
But you are going to have a purposeful, meaningful conversation, productive conversation that'll get you to a meeting where you can decide whether it makes sense. We're going to go down this path a little bit further. That could be something that's in your sales process. Step 2 is actually meeting with the client. What are potential outcomes that should happen from that meeting? Is either, you know what, Enrique, we're just not going to be a fit. Okay, no worries. We're going to be still friends with somebody in your network that might actually appreciate a conversation with someone like me. Sweet. That could be another outcome.
Yep.
Or, you know what, yes, Enrique, this looks really good, but I'm going to have to get Robbie and Hamish in the room so that we can make a decision as far as whether we're going to work together. Great. Well, when is that going to happen? That's another thing you can document in your sales process. So we're not really fumbling. We're going with the flow of things, and we're being authentic and natural, but we're moving the sale through our pipeline.
Love it.
And it, like Hamish said, not a script, but it is, a playbook that boxes we need to check before we go back to the office and say, hey, boss, got a good one.
Yep. And that really puts the ability to scale around the organization.
That's right.
That structure, as much as you don't, some salespeople probably, I'm gonna paintbrush everybody. Yeah. Salespeople don't like process, they don't like structure, they don't like paperwork. Right? That's kind of the standard. But in order to scale, you've got to have some of that in the presence, right? So that's a great structure around
That's
that.
right.
Yeah. Love it. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Smarter than you look.
Hey, thank you. I'll remember that.
I know.
Maybe we can highlight that in the reel.
Hamish, what about you, man? Anything else that you want to touch on that we didn't today?
So to pick up on something that you just said, Robbie, about salespeople and process, right? A lot of sellers, and I will paint myself same brush, right? They look at it as handcuffs, right? It's actually freedom. To reinforce what Enrique's missus says is it's about understanding what you need to do next, right?
Yeah.
It's knowing what the guardrails are, and having that from a leadership perspective to come back and say, so Hamish, what boxes did you check in our process today? Oh, great, you checked 5 of 7. When are you going to go back and check the other 2?
Yeah.
And that's the key mindset for all sellers: is book a meeting from a meeting. Right? Bam fam is the buzzword.
Bam fam.
Bam fam.
I love that.
T-shirts.
Hang on, bam fam. Book a meeting from a meeting.
Book a meeting from a meeting.
It's funny. I've never heard that, but I love it because it's like that's the one thing you always do is you don't leave me without a close.
Right.
That's exactly.
Even if it's a follow-up call or a next meeting or whatever, an email. book the meeting like literally in there, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying, so take the phone out and then bam, fam.
Bam, fam.
And we believe that real prospects put skin in the game, right? And
Yes.
early on, it's time skin,
Yeah.
right? Like Enrique, your world is not walk out with a PO, right? No. It's multiple meetings, and so if the buyer initially that phone call, hey Enrique, I work with VPs in construction who are typically da 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 da. Well, all I'm asking for is time skin.
Yeah.
All I want him to do is say, yeah, I'll spend 15 minutes with you to learn a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now eventually I'm going to want his money.
Yep.
Now he still has the right to. You said this earlier. You have the right to tell me whether or not you're going to work with me. However, if my buyer is unwilling to put even a little bit of time skin in,
Yep.
probably not a buyer, and also probably not an opportunity that I want to put at 90% in my funnel.
That's Yes, we love that. Yeah. No,
Sorry for triggering.
No, you saw the twitch happen.
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
You're not the first leader I've worked with that did that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a really, really valuable. The Bam Fam. I'm never gonna forget that. I love that. Bam Fam.
Bam Fam.
Shirts, T-shirts.
Sounds good.
Love it. It should be part of Sandler.
Absolutely.
I love it. How can everybody get a hold of you? I know that we've got LinkedIn is there. Is there anything else? Maybe I'll give you guys the stage there, Enrique.
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is definitely the best way to connect with me. Always looking to grow my network, support, my fellow humans, so to speak, and make industry pals. As a company, Sur-Flo meters, we're on LinkedIn as well as local manufacturer. We support a ton of our clients that are looking to install flow measurement equipment, control valves, instrumentations to optimize systems. So feel free to reach out to me and the team on LinkedIn, and happy to have a conversation.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Hamish?
Yeah, LinkedIn. There are not many Hamish Knoxes out there. I'm actually the only Hamish Knox on Amazon, apparently, with my book. So I'm pretty easy to find. My podcast is Full Funnel Freedom. It's fullfunnelfreedom.com. My website is hamish.sandler.com/howtosandler. So if you want to learn a bit more about our process. Yep, please. I just rattled that off pretty quick. My colleague Carrie says you're not listening at 1.5 times speed. It's just how fast he talks. And then every March we have a big 2-day learning event called Sandler Summit, which is super cool. We had Dr. Ben Hardy keynote last year, and we got some really cool things coming up for 2024. So
it's in Orlando, right?
It's in Orlando. So if you happen to be down there on a business trip, Robbie, maybe slide on over to the Marriott Worldwide and come join us for a couple of days. So. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Hard close me right now. Bam Fam right now.
Bam Fam,
what
absolutely.
it is.
Bam Fam t-shirts, brother.
There we go. You have to come through Orlando to get it. That's the key thing, right? Robbie, look, got the shirt.
Yes, I love it. I'll get the
I'll be by the pool. Come on down.
Did he just say Speedos? Is that what you just
Bam
said?
Fam Speedos.
Wow. Thank you for that visual.
Very welcome,
I can't unsee that. And that's how we're going to end on that, because I don't like where this is going. Everybody, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for your time today.
Thanks for inviting us, Robbie.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Really fun.
Everybody that stayed tuned for us the entire time, thank you for your time once again. We really appreciate it. As usual, like, comment, follow, feedback. We love it all. Please reach out if there's anything that you want to add into this, and we look forward to the next episode of Launchcast.